Once you've completed the preliminary basic roof shapes over here, you're ready to start with the application portion of this assignment. Now we're going to use each of these three roof shapes on the application. We won't be using the shed roof. In fact, it's probably best if we go look at the assignment description so you know exactly what it is you're trying to accomplish here. You can see we've got gables on either end of the house. We've got a double gable in the front of the house, which I haven't shown you how to do yet, and you'll want to watch the video for that. These are a little bit tricky and more complicated than a standard gable, which we have on the back of the house. We also have a gable without protruding walls. We have our salt box. There's also an added step in this one that I didn't show you before. You may want to watch the video for this portion too. And then last of all, we've got hips out here on this porch. And I will point out that the porch is a little bit messed up right now, and that's all intentional. So when we get to that part in the right video, I'll be showing you how to realign all of these columns, and I'll show you how to shift these beams so that they're the proper distance away from these walls on the exterior of the house. So in this one, let's get started by doing the most basic and simple shape, which is just going to be this gable on the left and this gable on the right. Usually whenever I do a house, I try to do the most basic shape that I can, and then I move towards more complexity. I don't try to do the entire roof all in one shot. Sometimes you can get away with that, but sometimes you'll find that it just won't work out and you'll have to go back to the beginning anyways. If I go into the roof plan, there are a few notes here that you might be interested in reading. They're just going to give you little tips and tell you what you're trying to accomplish. The video that I'm creating will probably do everything you would need to see in those notes anyways. Okay, so here we are, roof plan. This is the higher portion of the house, and if it helps, you can put your two views side by side. Sometimes I like to do this so that I can click on a wall and know exactly where it is in 3D. So if I'm just trying to do that main gable on the left and the right, I'm going to ignore the little bump outs here and here. I'm also for now going to ignore the gable on the front. Let's pull that back over. And I'll go into my roof command. Remember that we want to use the 6-inch wood truss. I've got pick walls active. This time I'm going to go with a 1-foot overhang again, and we always want to use extend to wall core. I do want to define slope, at least on the back and on the front. And this means that I'll end up with a ridge right down the middle. We'll have a slope coming from this side, a slope coming from this side. They'll both work their way up until they meet in the middle. That'll be our ridge. Now I'm not going to worry about selecting these other lines here and here. And then on the other side, maybe just here. Eventually we'll have a gable. We're ignoring that for now. But this is what I often see beginners do, is they'll select every single line. I find that it causes problems. And if you can do this with fewer lines, that's what I recommend. The way that I would do it is to go back to my pick lines. I don't want to define slope. I do want to extend to core. I'm going to get this side. That'll be the gable end, and that's why we don't want any slope there. Over here I have a gable end. I don't want slope there. And then I just use trim to make this with as few lines as possible. And if I find that I need more lines, I can always come back and add them in later. In fact, SL, the split tool, is great if you decide that you need to somehow separate some lines that are already there. But for now, I've got my 4 lines, and over here it says that I've got a 9/12. Let's go ahead and try it out at an 8. And I'm going to hit the green check mark and see what we've got. Okay, back here in 3D. Looks good. And maybe the next thing that I should do is select these walls and attach them so that we actually see that gable. And there we go. Okay, so again, the strategy here was to start off with something really simple. And the main reason I do that is because I know I can make it work when it's simple. And then I can go and try and add complexity. And if the complexity doesn't work, I just go right back to this point and I try a different strategy. So from this point, I don't want to add in the double gable. That's going to be in another video. And I don't want to add in the salt box. That's also going to be in another video. What I think we should do next is add in a little gable down here and revise our roof up top here so that we have the little gable here on the back. Let's just go check that one more time to see what it looks like. There's a gable here in an arbitrary position. Okay, we don't really know exactly where it needs to go because we don't have any walls to dictate that. We just know there's a little gable somewhere between this wall and this wall. Let's go ahead and do that now. I'm going to select my roof and edit the footprint. I'm going to use that slice tool that I showed just a minute ago, SL for slice or split, and I'm going to pick where that gable starts just by clicking somewhere on the pink line. And then I'm going to choose where it ends by clicking again. And I've got a line here now in the middle. And the problem is this currently shows that it's supposed to have slope. And we don't want that. So I'm going to turn off its slope. Now it doesn't. Okay, I'm just now realizing that all of my lines have 912 slope. So somehow my 812 didn't stick. Let's go back and fix that. Okay, so we've got this line in the middle. And we want the gable to start on either end. So we'll use the slope arrow tool. And it should just snap right to one end of the line. I'll go do it one more time. It'll snap to that end. I'm pointing in the direction that I want it to slope upward. So I should have a little ridge right in here somewhere. And then remember that we have to select these and change their style. Over here where it says specify, hide it tell, I mean, that's something you can investigate if you want, but I've had a lot better luck just changing that to slope. And notice that immediately 912 comes up, so I better change that to 8. And now I think I'm ready to look at it. Okay, in plan view, I can tell that was a success. It worked out. Let's go see here. Perfect. All I need to do is the attach method. We've filled it in. There's our little gable. Okay, let's just quickly go do the lower gable, and that'll conclude this video. Okay, so I'm trying to pull this over one more time. And we know this shouldn't be built up high here, right? It's not going to be built at the same level as this roof. And I've already mentioned, I kind of like building my roofs right here in the roof plan and then just moving them up or down. So I'm going to do that. So I go to my roof. We want extended wall core. We want to define slope. We want the pick walls tool selected. It is. And in order to get a gable over here, this would be the gable end, so that wouldn't have any slope. We want the roof to start sloping upward from here and from here. And then I'm going to select define slope to deselect it. Click there. And here's a new scenario, something we haven't encountered yet. There's nothing in the back, right? There's no wall that I can click on. Maybe there is, but it's being hidden by the roof, and that would mean that it's way up high, whereas these walls are down low anyways. So the solution this time is that we'll simply use the line tool, and you can draw any line you want for a roof anywhere. So if I just connect the dots here, I've now enclosed that, and the only caution that I need to give you here is that it worked great in this application. If you were to start an entire roof this way and just start drawing your lines, let's pretend that I'm putting a gable over here too, and let's say that I just draw lines like this and then decide, oh, slope should go here or here, that would cause a problem. And that's because using the lines doesn't actually attach this to the walls. So it actually positions it differently. It makes your overhangs different. It's just not really a good solution unless you really know what you're doing. I would always do it the way we did over here. Use the pick walls tool as often as possible, and then just use lines when you have to close something up. Okay. Also, I will mention that where this line ends, I don't really know. So I'm going to pull it back so that you can see how I'll fine tune this in just a minute. Okay, let's go ahead and accept it. We've got our little gable here. You can tell we've got a ridge, and you can see that it's way high. It's up too high. Okay, we can go to the base level and we'll just drop that down. Top of wall. Now it's in the right spot. We can raise this wall up by attaching, and then we just have to close up that gap somehow. Well, there's a really simple way to do this. What we need to do is go back into the roof plan. I'm going to select that higher roof, and when I do, you can see that the walls below it become visible. So let's just hide that roof. We'll do a temporary hide. You can press HH and it goes away. And now I can see exactly how far to extend this roof so that it runs into that wall. We do need to go back into edit mode, so I'll edit the footprint. And this line right here just needs to align with the edge of the wall. And then we're done. I can accept that, and I'll type in HR so that the roof comes back in my roof plan view. And let's check it out in 3D. See how we did. Okay, perfect alignment now. That's great. Okay, the last thing that I want to mention before I end this video is that maybe you end up doing a house at some point that's like this. You're trying to start off with simplicity, but you don't have any gable ends. All you have to do is add slope on these ends, and you have a hip. So switching back and forth between a hip and a gable is really simple. You can look at your application, see what you need, and make it work either way.